Good morning, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 4th edition of the Dubai Accessible Travel and Tourism Conference. Under patronage of His Highness, Sheikh Ahmed bin Saeed Al Maktoum, President of Dubai Civil Aviation Authority, Chairman of Dubai Airports, and Chairman of Emirates Airline and Group. This conference is sponsored by Dubai Economy and Tourism, Dubai Civil Aviation Authority, Emirates Airlines, Dubai Duty Free, and JW Marriott Marquis. This event is also supported by my own organization, IATA, International Air Transport Association, and ACI World, Airport Council International. It is an honor to be your MC for this event. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all our distinguished guests, speakers, and attendees. Your presence here today is a testament to your commitment to promoting accessible travel and tourism, and I am thrilled to be part of this important event. As someone who has personally experienced the challenges of traveling with someone with a disability, I know firsthand how important it is to have access to accessible travel and tourism options. Some of you may have heard of my encounter, but for those of you who didn't, I was on a flight some years ago with a mother of a 4-year-old child on the autism spectrum. Witnessing her struggle to try to keep him quiet, from everybody staring, just trying to tell her to keep her child calm, instead of actually helping her. This really saddened me. She was juggling between feeding him, keeping him quiet, trying to make sure his headphones stay on. This experience was very heartbreaking for me, especially that she is someone who is very close to my heart. I'm glad to say that there have been improvements, but is there room for more improvement? There is definitely room for more improvement. Well, she vowed back then that she will never travel with her child again. I'm hoping that someday I can travel with both of them again and be proud to show her the difference and that she can actually sense it. That's why I'm so excited to be here today with a subject that is very near and dear to my heart. So, over the next 2 days, we will have the opportunity to hear from some of the leading voices in the industry, as well as engage in meaningful discussions about how we can all work together to make travel and tourism more accessible for everyone. I encourage you all to take advantage of the many networking opportunities available throughout the conference and to share your own experiences and insights with your fellow attendees. Thank you again for joining us today, and I look forward to an engaging and productive conference. So, thank you. So, let's get started. It's my pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker, His Royal Highness Prince Mired Raad Zeid Al-Hussein, President of the Higher Council for the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in Jordan. Unfortunately, due to prior commitments, His Royal Highness is unable to be with us in person today. However, we're honored to have him join us via video message to deliver his keynote address.
Your Excellencies, dear friends, forgive me for not being able to attend this prestigious and important conference on accessible travel in person. I hope that this humble video message will suffice and be of interest to you. Tourism in Jordan is our bread and butter, and it is the same in many, if not most countries around the world that depend heavily on the tourism industry to sustain their economies. Regarding my country, it is without doubt the most important sector of our economy, and its potential for further growth is enormous. One way to enhance the sector and attract more visitors is to focus on inclusive tourism, or accessible tourism as it is otherwise known. And for those who are unsure what inclusive tourism really means, or think that it is the same as medical tourism, it is not at all. Basically, it means that the tourism industry must widen its scope and target persons with disabilities and the elderly as potential customers, as tourists. It's as simple as that. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand that it makes good business sense. If you are a business owner working in the tourism industry, do you want only 80% of your potential customers benefiting and utilizing your services? Or do you want 100% of potential customers arriving happily at your doorstep? All that is required is that your business or service is fully accessible. In other words, there must be ramps at the entrance, the main entrance, that is, not the side entrance, nor the back entrance, but the main entrance. Bathrooms have to be made accessible, as well as elevators, etc., etc. Walkways must accommodate the blind. Braille must be on the door signs. Transportation must be accessible for wheelchair users. Interpretation services available for the deaf, etc. All people working within the industry must be sensitized and made to understand that persons with disabilities and the elderly have a right to travel and be treated with the utmost respect and dignity as paying customers. Basically, your business or service must be able to accommodate all persons with different types of disabilities. It may sound daunting, but it is not. It's easy peasy, believe me. It's not that complicated. It's just a matter of thinking along the lines of universal design, whereby everything is designed in a manner that accommodates everyone. That's the ideal. In reality, however, despite huge efforts in many countries to encourage the tourism sector to move in this direction, progress has unfortunately been speedy in only a few countries, with many others trailing behind, as they have yet to get the memo that inclusive tourism is an amazing area to invest in. One comment that I have often heard from people in the tourism sector in Jordan is that rarely do persons with disabilities come to their hotel and/or restaurant. So why should they bother invest and make their premises accessible? The simple answer is that persons with disabilities and the elderly are now tech savvy. They take out their smartphones and in a jiffy vet all the restaurants and or hotels in the area to see which are accessible and which are not. And they will go to the locations that have accessible parking designated for them, an easy entrance free of steps, an accessible bathroom to use, and staff that is sensitized to their needs and know how to interact with them in a polite and dignified manner, etc., etc. It is as simple as that. If you as a business owner are willing to make the changes and promote your business accordingly, you will no doubt reap the rewards. So why is this issue worth mentioning? Why should we bother thinking about inclusive tourism, you may wonder? Why not consider ecotourism or adventure tourism instead? In my view, it's not one or the other. Countries that depend heavily on their tourism industries should extend their reach, think innovatively, and find an edge. They have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, so to speak, to multitask. And regarding inclusive tourism, all you really need to do is look carefully at the data, consider the variables, analyze the trends, and crunch the numbers. And you will quickly realize that it is a very lucrative proposition and a win-win venture on all levels and for all the stakeholders. The one big variable that has changed markedly over the last several decades is that in many or most developed countries in particular, children with disabilities have received an education on par with others and are now working in all spheres and in all arenas and at all levels in both the private and public sectors. This was sadly not the case before. In other words, it has enabled persons with disabilities in these countries to enjoy financial independence and to travel the world as tourists, and to decide for themselves when to travel, where to travel, how to travel, with whom to travel, and for how long. And when they travel, they expect to receive the same standard services as others. No more, no less. They are paying customers, after all, who are not necessarily ill, could be, but not necessarily, and want to enjoy their vacation or adventures. And like all tourists, they want to avoid tourist traps at all costs. So they do their homework. They take out their cell phones and Google. They check out which destinations are accessible and inclusive and which are not. Some may think that the issue is still insignificant, not a big deal, as persons with disabilities are only a small minority. That perception is not true at all and far off the mark. According to the WHO, the percentage of persons with disabilities worldwide ranges between 15 and 16%, which translates to roughly 1.2 to 1.3 billion people. And according to all estimates, approximately 15% of persons with disabilities want to travel and see the world. Added to this big number is the large number of senior citizens, like I just mentioned, who benefit from and they require the same accommodations. And how many senior citizens are there in the world? Millions! And the number will only keep increasing as we become more and more an aging society. In 2022, there were approximately 800 million people aged 65 years old and over globally, accounting for almost 10% of the world's population. This segment has been growing at an increasing rate and is expected to hit 16% in 2050. People are living longer due to modern medicine and have disposable income and want to see the world. So the countries that are nimble and quick to understand that this new reality are the countries that will most benefit. Hence, persons with disabilities and the elderly make up a massive potential lucrative market that cannot be ignored. In addition, tourists with disabilities and the elderly will most likely travel during the low season when tourists are most needed to miss the crowds and the hustle. They are also most likely to travel with a companion or companions and are more likely to stay longer and enjoy themselves at a slower pace. In other words, they will be better and more dependable customers. So if countries understand this potential bonanza and invest in it, it really is a win-win for all. And what will definitely happen is that tourists with disabilities, plus the elderly, will voice their opinions, no doubt, if services or accommodations are lacking or are not up to standard, causing a ripple effect or a snowballing effect that will fine-tune or tweak the tourism industry to be more inclusive. And lastly, I believe that one of the greatest benefits of inclusive tourism is that the more persons with disabilities are visible and are seen to be enjoying themselves, traveling this little blue planet of ours whenever they want and wherever they want, this will have a very far-reaching effect on communities or individuals who still have archaic perceptions of persons with disabilities. Once they see for themselves persons with disabilities coming from all over the world, who are business people, lawyers, professors, politicians, doctors, engineers, plumbers, carpenters, electricians, etc., people who are successful and independent in their own right, not only will it shatter their discriminatory beliefs, it will also serve as an incredible eye-opener for all, that persons with disabilities, when given the chance to flourish and reach their potential, can be just as productive and successful as anyone else, if not more. So, like I mentioned earlier, let us open our hearts, use our intelligence to consider the variables and crunch the numbers, and always, always remember that tourists with disabilities plus elderly tourists are potential customers. And you, as a hotel owner, restaurant owner, travel agent, or investor in the tourism industry, do you want more customers or not? Do you want new business opportunities to develop or not? I repeat, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand how blatantly attractive this investment is. Therefore, put your business caps on and think really cleverly about this issue. But do it always, always, always with a lot of heart and empathy. Finally, I would just like to say a few words about the Global Disability Summit that will take place in Berlin in April of 2025. As you may know, Jordan, Germany, and IDA will co-preside over the summit, which will be a momentous occasion, as it will be the first ever global summit on the rights of persons with disabilities that will be attended in person by heads of state from all corners of the globe. Issues such as inclusive education, accessibility, employment, deinstitutionalization, political participation, and inclusive tourism, and many other matters will be the focus of all the deliberations. Inshallah, it will be a watershed moment that must not and cannot be dashed, a moment that will transform the lives of persons with disabilities for the better. paving the way for them to be educated on par with others, to move freely, to acquire challenging employment opportunities, to live independently if possible, as well as to travel the world and enjoy its wonders. God willing, and with your help, bi'idhnillah, the summit will be a great success. I hope to see you all there. Salam and thank you.